I will stop.
Maybe more than 2 months.
Wait, belly got bigger.
This and this.
I mean, at least
Your
I
belly
got
got smaller.
smaller.
You'll take that, right?
Will change.
It's like, I'll take that.
You got some Robin Sears! Yay!
Hi, everybody. It's been a while. How's everybody doing tonight?
Really good.
Good.
First time back.
First time back. Yes, since having twins. You know, so I'm ridiculously excited to be here. Ridiculously excited to be here. And I'm excited that each of you chose to take the time tonight to spend it with us. Because great, amazing, exciting things are happening in this place. And I know that each of us is experiencing it at our own pace and in our own experience and in our own energy. And I have been itching to be back in it. I'm itching to continue to help ignite it. And this is it. This is the beginning of the continuing, right? Isn't it? And that's what we're doing with our lives, right? Because advances are permanent. So we always get to have the beginning of the continuing. And so welcome. And welcome back, because I got to meet you. I'm very excited about that. So tonight, I get to introduce the fabulous speakers. Apparently, I am the first fabulous speaker. Kermit Robin Sears. Thank you for being here tonight. Let's see who else is talking. So, as many of you know, Sue Tweddell has been with Primerica and been building a business for many years now. And Sue continues to be a huge force in this place for us and continues to really hone in on why it is we're doing what we're doing. You know, Sue and I talked today about the fact that when I think about what we're doing here and what we know about here, I'm talking to someone and I'm thinking about, oh, am I going to tell them about Primerica and our business and what part? I started to think, we have a secret recipe. We have a secret recipe to changing lives. And if you were talking to someone and you knew that that secret recipe was sitting in your back pocket, why wouldn't you pull it out and share it? So the next time you're talking to someone, you want to think about what's stopping you from pulling out that secret recipe. Because if every single person in our lives knew the secret recipe to changing lives, that is a movement. That's a change in our family. That's a change in our community. And every single person here is sitting with that secret recipe in their back pocket. So now you're going to think about what's stopping you from pulling that secret recipe. Because you hold it. And we have to go to bed at night knowing we have the secret recipe and knowing we didn't share it. So Sue's going to come and talk about why that secret recipe is so important. And then Wade Skulski, the great Wade Skulski, is going to talk about the ingredients to that secret recipe. And then, is he on here? Yes. My husband, the great Brett Sears, is going to talk about once you have the secret recipe in your hand, and you have all of the ingredients, how can we put it all together to truly make the kind of impact that each person in here is excited about making? So with that being said, again, I thank you all for being here tonight. I'm so excited about what we can do together, and I want to introduce the great Sue Tweddell. Isn't it nice having her back?
Yes.
That's nice.
Awesome. Great job, Robin. My only complaint is that Brett didn't put up the pictures of the boys when she was talking to twins. That would have been nice, huh? So maybe next time, right? Who knows? But again, thanks for coming. This is really awesome, you guys. Let me just make sure I can do this thing with you. Okay, so as everything says up here, my name's Sue Tweddell. Yes, I've been here around here for, oh my goodness, about 16 years. And it's so interesting to me because I talk with people every day. And I'm always getting asked, what makes you different? And it's something that I had to really think about. And my very first inclination when someone says that to me is I want to answer in a really short way. We have a problem and we have a solution. Or there's a problem and we have a solution. And I think that's a pretty good answer, really. But it begs the next question. And what's the problem that we have, right? Well, in doing that, I started thinking about it, and I said, you know what? There's definitely some things that we know. We know that there's a whole group of people called the wealthy. Would everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. And we pretty much know a whole lot about them. Well, we hear a whole lot about them. I don't know if we know a whole lot about them, but we hear a whole lot about them, right? The one thing that I know off the top of my head is they get to go to the very best colleges. They go to the Harvards and the Yales and the Princetons and Stanford, right? And you know what is important about that? Is they build relationships with people that are going to have businesses and corporations, and they're the top attorneys and the senators and the governors, and pretty cool. I'm thinking, well, wait a second, I went to college, but I want to go to that. But because they're building all these kinds of relationships, guess what? They also own businesses. The wealthy own the businesses, most of the businesses. Yeah. Why? Why would they not? They have the control of their own businesses and corporations and things, which also means that they have a whole lot, if I can make this thing work, of financial freedom. It means they have the ability to come and go as they want. I started thinking about that and go, that would be awesome. Think about it. We all hear about those people that go and jump on a plane and go somewhere, right? And they come back the next day or the next week or whatever, and then they're off again. We all know that. But what about the people that can just take their checkbook out of their pocket, write a check to anybody, and I don't mean to an individual, but maybe to a cause, do it anonymously, and just be done with it? How cool would that be? That's financial freedom, or at least a part of it. How about financial guidance? All of the financial advisors love this group of people. They advise them all the time. They're the ones that they sit down with. That group of people is the one with all the money. And in thinking about this, I go, you know, I kind of like to be up here. I would. I'm not, but it's a good question. Maybe for you too, I don't know. But with another thing that I do know is that there's another whole group of people right down here that the government takes care of. Let's see if I can see more. Called the not so wealthy, or the financially dependent, or the broke. Call them whatever you want. The government at least is helping them out. They have free preschools because early childhood education is really, really important. But not only do they have free preschools, they have free childcare. They also have college grants so that those kids can go to college and not have to worry about it. They've got financial support, Medi-Cal, Medicare, food stamps, yeah, and they've got opportunities. And this is a really good thing because we're in a society that cares about other people. And so we don't want a whole segment of our population like that, right? But again, I'm not part of this group. And honestly, I'm not a part of that group up there. But unless I miss my guess, there's a huge group of people right here in the middle. That's called Main Street families. Let me get that. Okay? See, it doesn't matter if somebody in this group makes $30,000 a year or if they make $250,000, two-income family. If we can't up and quit our jobs tomorrow, this is exactly where we are, because we can't be part of the wealthy if we can't come and go as we please, right? Everybody agree with me on this? Okay. So I started thinking about this and I go, well, wait a minute here. This is starting to be a problem for me. Not the wealthy, not here. I'm here and there's some things that I really wanted too. If I had kids, I'd want them to go to preschool. My niece has a little boy and a little girl, both under 5 years old. They both go to preschool. In fact, she went back to work. She wanted to go back to work so that they can actually afford to send them to preschool. It's like $1,000 a month apiece. So a huge part of her check goes to that. But it's important. So she does it. I had a conversation with her the other day. She goes, I'm not going to quit my job. I'm going to do this because it's really important for my kids to be able to experience this. College. We want our kids going to college. I went to college. I was really, really lucky. My dad was a business owner. So he was able to send me to college and I didn't have to worry about student loans. So I got to borrow a little bit of this up here, not a lot, but some of it. But how many other people get to do that? See, I think about it and I go, I feel like I was really lucky, but I feel kind of, I don't know, a little bit bad because people are walking out with student loans all the time and starting from backwards, from owing. But it's important, so we're going to do it, right? And then business ownership. Again, my dad, like I just mentioned, was a business owner. And he always told me that you're not going to get where you want to go working for somebody else. Well, the interesting thing is after college, I graduated with a degree in dental hygiene, not in financial services, actually in dental hygiene. And I went to work for a dentist in a job. But at the back of my head, just back here, somewhere in the back of my mind, I kept hearing, not going to get to where you want to go. And the experiences that I would have, I don't know if you guys can identify with this or not, but I still remember getting up in the morning, still remember, you know, you eat breakfast, you drive into work, you're fighting the traffic and stuff, and I get there and I'd have to clock in. And I keep my fingers crossed that I wasn't going to be late. Because who wants to have that pink slip written on them, right? And then all of a sudden I thought about it for a while and I went, I also remember coming home at night, sitting on the couch, going, something's wrong. This isn't right. This isn't what I want. I wanted to be a business owner. Something's got to give. Something's got to change. But how do we own businesses? Because it's expensive. It's not the actual owning of the business, probably. I mean, honestly, we can probably figure out a way to borrow money, $50,000, $100,000 to start a business. But how do we stay in business long enough to make it successful? So we end up working for somebody else and building somebody else's dream. We're the managers. And then financial advice, I wanted financial advice. The problem was the financial advisors, the ones that really knew what they were doing, they were talking to those folks up there. They're not talking to me. I don't have $250,000 to invest. And they're not going to talk to me if I have $10,000 or $20,000. To me, this is getting to be a real problem, and I'm going, this is like going 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward. You know, you think you're getting ahead and you don't, and it's that back and forth type of thing. All because I think we don't have access. We make too much money to take advantage of this, not enough to take advantage of this. And we work really hard to pay the taxes down here and build the businesses for up there. Something's got to change. And I'd get after myself and I'd argue with myself and go, okay, why is this happening? How is it going to change? Why isn't it changing? And so the very first thing I had to ask myself is, okay, well, what am I doing? What am I doing? Okay, I'm going to the banks. Most of us go to banks, right? We save our money in the banks. And I'm going, well, wait a second, they're not there to give me money. And the lenders, they're not there to make sure I'm okay. Life insurance companies, how about corporate America? The dentist I worked for was never going to make sure that I had my own business. You know, it's funny because I start thinking about this because I started, well, a couple things. First of all, I started thinking about no one is coming and knocking on my door. I remember making a phone call to one of my really good friends going, this has got to change. And she's going, well, I know all of this stuff already. And I'm going, well, wait a minute, I don't. So I'm thinking, why don't we know this stuff? And if I go back to the lenders for just a second, do you guys remember, if we go back, I can't believe it's 10 years old, about 10 years ago, all the stuff that was happening with the mortgages and stuff and credit cards and all that kind of stuff and people losing their homes. Everybody kind of remembers. Okay, I'm trying to forget it still. But, you know, it's funny because I grew up in this society and this society wants everything right this second, yeah? So to get something right this second, what do? We put it on credit cards. I would put it on credit cards, charge up a little bit. Okay, so I have a balance, no big deal, but I had what I want, right? And we go on a trip that way, and we do this that way. And then what would happen, and I was very fortunate, it didn't really happen to me. I kind of kept the credit card thing, and that was a challenge. But a lot of people would refinance their house and put all of this debt into their house, because now all of a sudden the houses were worth a lot of money, yeah? And then what happened in 2006, 2007, 2008? The housing market crashed. And now all of a sudden people were losing their houses. And now, at this point in time, is when people start saying, oh, I gotta do something different. See, for me, it was, I have so much credit card debt that I better get this under control. I gotta do something different. For somebody else, it might have been, you know what, I just lost my house. I really better do something different. The thing is even though no one's come to fix it, we don't think that problem's real because it's not personal. It wasn't until somebody loses their home or goes into bankruptcy or loses their job, and now it's personal. It's a problem. It's a problem that the wealthy don't have to worry about this and that we all have to worry about this. And there's a group of us that said, you know what, this can change. I honestly believe this can change. It's just a matter of how we change it, because it's not a matter of if this is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. It's going to happen to each and every one of us. So we can change it. So what I want to do right now is, with that strategy to help start to change it, I wanted to welcome Wade up here and have him come up and just.
I love the fact that our clicker is an out-of-date iPhone, right? So like this phone at some point was the height and pinnacle of technology, and now it has been relegated to being a clicker for this presentation, okay? So what does that say about technology, right? Well, you know, right? So how's everybody doing? Good? Good. So like, look, I think what Sue said was extremely important. Is like, look, this problem is real, and now, you know, if you don't know about it, then it's almost one of those things. There we go. Oh yes, it's me. Hello. Hello. The problem is real, okay? And you will learn about it in one of two ways. The first way to learn about it is what Sue talked about, is when it becomes personal for you all of a sudden. Meaning you need money for some emergency and you don't have it. Someone in your family passes away and there's not enough money saved for everybody else. Suddenly it's personal, but by then you're struggling, you're scrambling to try to fix that, all right? What we're going through tonight, which is what's really exciting, is that we're actually learning about these problems before they happen. Now, it would really, really be a terrible presentation if Sue said, there's this giant problem, there's this ticking, there's a ticking clock that's just counting down to when it becomes personal for you. And that's all we're gonna do tonight. All we're gonna do is introduce a ticking loud clock in your life that at some point the alarm is gonna go off and it's gonna be personal for you and it's gonna stink. Great, have a great night, right? It's not a good or bad presentation, not so fun, right? But what I'd like to introduce to you is there actually is a way to quiet that clock, that ticking clock of this is when it becomes personal for me. And the way that is the access to financial security. The reason is that, look, we can all agree that the wealthy think differently about their money. They think differently about how money is created. They think differently about how they react with each other or interact with each other, how they interact with their children, what they teach their children. And the first thing what they do is they operate under this principle of they lock in advances for their family. It sounds complicated, but it's very simple. They just make sure that their kids don't slide back to where they were when they started or further. As an example, if your kids go to college, if you went to college, you want to make sure your kids go to college, the wealthy make sure that if something happens to them, that there's enough money for the kids to go to college. Because if there isn't enough money for the kids to go to college, the kids have to take out loans, which sets them back. They'd have to go to work during college, which sets them back, or they may not go to college at all. So the wealthy make sure that they lock in these advances for their family. The wealthy also develop habits. When we're thinking about that ticking clock in the Main Street families, the wealthy don't really worry about that because they know that their habits, they're preparing for that ticking clock by their habits. So they make sure that everything they create in their life, everything they construct in their life is an advance, it's protection against what could happen. They make sure that they're bulletproof in every aspect of their life, and they do that through their habits in advance. It's just a lifestyle, and the result of their lifestyle is they're relaxed and protected. And then they learn to leverage experts. The wealthy do not do their own taxes. They do not go on TurboTax and do their own taxes. They just don't, okay? My brother, I'm trying to convince him, he's like, I gotta do my taxes, I gotta do my taxes. He's been working on his taxes for a month, right? What do you think that he could do if he would pay? Do you think he could make more money in a month by paying an accountant, whatever he pays an accountant to do his taxes, and then working in something else besides his taxes for that month? Of course, right? He leverages experts. Why his taxes take a month, I have no idea. Maybe he's not good at math. I don't know, but he clearly should get help with it because no one's taxes should take a month, okay? Especially for his situation. And then what they also do is they cultivate strategic partnerships. Sue gave a great example of when people go to college, the wealthy teach their children. It's not really college, what you learn in college is important. It's the relationships that you create in college that you'll have your whole life. When we go to high school, we don't really we get our friends in high school, but we don't necessarily choose them in a way that it guarantees they're all going to be successful. Meaning, like, there's all levels of success in high school, right? But if you go to Harvard, and you go to Harvard Business School, or you go to USC Business School, everyone already has a really high chance of success because everyone has access to each other and to everyone that's ever gone to that school. USC is awesome about making sure that everyone has connections at USC. I did not go to USC, and even I know that because I've heard of it, and if I've heard of it, think how powerful that is. So, I'm sorry? Yes.
That's absolutely.
Hallelujah. That's right. Give me one. Right. Amen. All right. Cool. I got excited right there. That side got excited. This side, I need you guys to be a little more excited. All right. So this is what the wealthy think about. This is why they're in a different situation than us, because over time, they're always acting with these principles in mind. And then over time, what we do, our habits establishes our life. Right now, wherever we are in life, is not as a result of one big bad decision. It's as a result, or good decision, is as a result of decisions over time. All the good things in your life are as a result of small decisions you've made along the way. Things that are challenges in your life are results of small decisions you've made along the way. Very rarely does lightning strike, okay? And when it does, we don't have the habits anyways to deal with it because it rains on the rich and rains on the poor. So, now, what does that mean for us? Well, how do we, as normal human beings that didn't grow up with these advantages, I'm the first in my family to go to college. Don't be fooled by the tie, right? I bought this tie, but I barely knew what it was because my dad went to high school. My dad didn't wear a tie. He was a construction worker, right? So how do I get access to the same things that someone who's a more wealthy family has, right? Or how do my kids get access to that? Well, the first thing we can learn about is the power of partnership. Let's talk about strategic partnerships. Primerica wants to help Main Street families. It wants to do everything it can to help Main Street families. It's created solely for Main Street families. It is not created for the top tier of people because everyone else is fighting over those people. It wants to give access to Main Street families where no one's talking to those people. Primerica literally is the only company that talks to Main Street families. And if you want to say it simpler, Primerica is the only company that's ever talked to me. I'm in the Main Street family, and I'm 42 years old, and the only people who have ever talked to me about these issues or anything revolving around these is Primerica. That's it. No one's, and if someone else talks to me about it, I will report it to you. But up to this point, it's just been Primerica. So, well, they're a pretty good partner to have. They have $2 billion in market capitalization. Basically, that's a fancy way of saying that you're rich on them. So they have checks that don't bounce. Their products, they don't have to worry about them. You don't have to worry about them going out of business. If you're going to become in partnership with someone, why not go in partnership with someone that's been around since 1977 and has a giant boatload of cash? They can go with the ups and the downs of the economy. You don't have to worry about that. Now, so how do we bring these things to us? I just started a little bit of the partnership with Primerica. Well, how do we lock in advances for a family? Well, the rich have trusts. You ever heard that? Like a trust, right? They make sure that trust fund baby, they make sure the kids are all taken care of. Well, I don't have any money to make a trust, so what can I do? Well, Primerica and this way of financial thinking, we use level term insurance. Basically what we do is we rent a big bag of money. If I'm struck by lightning, gored by javelina, or run over by a bus, my wife gets a big fat check, right? I'm borrowing this, that's it. It's very simple. That's how I lock in advances for my family because I don't have access to trusts, but I don't need it. I have access to a really inexpensive way to get the same thing. What about develop habits? Well, there's this concept of mutual funds. Now, if we can learn to save $25 a month, we can learn to save $50 a month. If we can learn to save $50 a month, we can learn to save $1,000 a month. Well, Wade, I don't have $1,000 a month. I know. But if you suddenly come into a situation where you get $1,000 a month, guess what you're not going to do with it if you haven't established a habit? You're not going to save $1,000 a month even if you have it. You have to start low and develop this habit. So the amount that we can put in here is totally almost irrelevant. $25 a month, $50 a month can grow to wherever we want it to grow. But it's the habit that's more important. And once you learn to have a habit about one thing, can we apply that skill of learning a habit to something else? Yes? Yeah. Ubi, you got in the habit of getting up at an ungodly part of the morning, right? You get up at what time, like 3 in the morning every day, right? That was kind of painful when you first started doing it, right? Now you wake up even on the weekend when you don't want to. That's a very powerful habit. You can use that same skill if you develop that, and you can develop it with money. You can develop it with working out. You can develop it with anything else, as long as you realize, oh, the power of habit is something that is not luck, it's a skill I can develop. And we start to teach people with money with mutual funds. And we can extrapolate to all sorts of other things if we start there. And then we go into leveraging experts. Look, managed accounts. If you get some money, do you want to manage? Do you think people who have $3 million look at their own portfolio and manage their own portfolio? No. They have, that's my phone that's doing that. Robin Sears, thank you for doing that. That's my habit. 8 o'clock, that alarm goes off. I'm supposed to do something. So I should have shut it off for now, but that alarm goes off at 8, noon, 5, and 8. We'll talk later for what that habit is for. Texting my wife. Just kidding. Okay. So we leverage experts, manage accounts, right? Because we, like my brother spends a month doing his taxes. Could he be doing other things to improve his life other than doing his taxes? He did not leverage an expert, right? We leverage experts to manage accounts and cultivate strategic partnerships. I talked a little bit about Primerica, but Brett's going to come up and talk about something else. But what you need to know is that when you become involved with Primerica is a group of people in Duluth, Georgia. They're far away, right? They're great. There's 2,000 of them. They work every day for Main Street families. They create great products, right? They wake up every day trying to help us. But there's also our advocates, and our advocates are the people in this room. There's people like Sue that you're from, people like Brett, there's people like Robin, right? Everyone in this room is an advocate for you and for each other. And we all know that because we're a team, and that's exciting. No, excuse me, I got so excited about I had a frog in my throat, I almost choked. Nowhere else in my life do I have a group of people that's dedicated to me so that we can help each other. Now, some people will say, well, what about my family? Yes. Some people's family do that, some people's family don't. But the difference is that families have baggage, right? We all have baggage with our families. Sometimes we like each other, sometimes that we don't, right? Some people have great families, some people don't. But what I can tell you is that in terms of financial success, in terms of helping each other with business, we don't have that baggage here. We have a culture of helping each other, and there's nothing that comes here before helping each other, except for the culture of helping each other. Oh, I think I just proved a negative somehow. Cold fusion, it just happened. Be shocked by it. All right, so I'm gonna have to check that one out. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that these things are accessible to you. They're not just accessible to the rich. The tools may be different to start, but they ultimately end up in the same place. And it's really, really exciting that this game plan that we have laid out is actually a 2 to 3 generation game plan to become wealthy, to become financially free. It's this simple. If you and your family master these principles, teach them to your children, your grandchildren, or your great-grandchildren will be financially free. They'll be the equivalent of a Rockefeller. Brett, do me a favor when you come up and you talk about the Roth IRA for your kids. I don't know what the number is and it goes, but Brett's going to tell you about if you save a Roth IRA for your kids and instead of them spending it, they roll it over to their kids. It's some ridiculous number, and it's like $1 billion. I don't know, 500 million, whatever it is. 2 to 3 generation game plan, all right? And so how exciting is this? You're all stunned into silence. Thank you. Someone talks. Good. No, this is exciting, guys. It's not just a slide, all right? Just when Sue talks about that it's not impactful until it hits us personally, it's not just a slide. Things happen. Lightning does strike. People do get hit by buses, or by a javelina. I joke around with it, but lightning does strike. It becomes personal for people. These habits developed over a couple generations makes families impervious to when lightning strikes. It makes them so that there's the cycle of their family and their kids' kids are handled forever. That's exciting, at least to me. And Brett's going to come up, and I hope it is to you as well. And Brett's going to come up and he's going to talk about something else that's very much as exciting, and he's going to help me with his number that I can't remember what it is, please. So the awesome Brett Sears.
Good morning. Good morning. How are we all doing? It's funny, I'm sitting in the back of the room, and I am bouncing off the walls excited right now. Look, I'm not sure if I'm going to have a coherent sentence. I've had a heck of a day. But it's funny, and I want to start with this because all the speakers did great, but it's the ability to recognize kind of our moments. And it's funny, is Derek and I met with a gentleman today who actually used to be in the business before, had some investments, had some questions and stuff like that. And I talked to him on the phone about a month ago, and I talked to him about, some things that changed, and he's like, Brett, I don't want to be recruited. Whatever you do, don't. And I'm like, cool, don't worry about it, no big deal. So we sit down today, and he starts asking some questions, and I told the story that Sue told, which is that there's 70 million families stuck, and we don't know about it. And he looked at me and he's like, well, that's an interesting way of phrasing it. That's a unique way of kind of packaging it, because he's in outside sales, been in sales a long time, used to be in the business, does not want me to recruit. Y'all understand what I'm talking about? Like, I am not here for that. I am here to learn about the managed account. So we went through that, and then I went through the conversation that Wade had and said, okay, well, here's the problem. 70 million families are stuck and they don't know about it. It's important to recognize that not only are, those are nice socks, not only are we stuck, not only are we stuck, but we don't know about it. Why is that important? Because if you know there's a problem, you know how to fix it, right or wrong. Like, it's one thing to have a problem and to, okay, how many of you have a friend that has a problem, the same problem they've had for a decade, and their job is to talk about the problem incessantly? How many of you know that person? And you look at them. Oh, shit, then if you don't know that person,
Yeah.
you are that person. So just one of the things. So let me ask you, how many of you know that person? Right? This is one way to get the participation up. Right? Some of y'all are mad at me now. Right? But the reality is, right? So we're sitting down. But that's not it for the most of us. Like, we don't actually know that there are solutions. Like, logically, we know, hey, how many of you figured out you should probably save some money? Like, we didn't need to come to a meeting for that. But how many of you never look at your account at the end of the month and go, oh my God, I have all this extra money. I really need to save it. We figured out that if we don't earn our money, save our money, and spend what's left, because that's not what we do, huh? What do? We earn our money, spend our money, and save what's left. What's ever left? Nothing. Well, that shift, when we talk about it, is a habit. Well, if we don't actually know, right? I remember growing up, my dad would tell me, he'd say the sentence that if we had more money, we'd have a better plan. How many think that sounds pretty logical? If we had more money, we'd have a better plan. The reality is, Cindy, is if we had a better plan, we'd have more money. But if we don't know that, then we don't start, because at the beginning of starting a plan, nothing makes sense, right or wrong. If at the end of last month you didn't have extra money, if someone sat down and said, now you need to save, last month you didn't have extra money, the idea of you saving becomes hard, right or wrong. But the habit of starting is where the difference is. So we're sitting down with Derek, and we're walking through the principles and this and that, and just telling the story about strategic partnership and all this other stuff. And when I get going, I can get going. Yeah. And he looks at me and he's like, he's leaning forward. Now I go, I know you're not doing the business. He's like, well. And I'm like, no, you're not doing the business. And he looked at me and he's like this is pioneering stuff.
Wow.
And I'm like, yes. Like, I don't get why, because we just got locked in an alley. If we can get the people in our life who don't want to do the business to, at the end of a 45-minute conversation, you'll be looking at you and go, this is pioneering stuff. Like, this is unbelievable. He's not doing the business. I don't need him to do the business. I want everybody in Derek's life to understand and support what's going on. See, the reality is I'm an advocate for what I do. I truly believe the 70 million families in this country are stuck. I truly believe that the only shot to make that difference is access. Access to the financial education and the tools that we need. You know why? Because I was raised by parents that loved me, that were broke, and they only knew how to be broke. They didn't know they were broke. They didn't know that they were screwing up. They were doing the best they possibly could. Every one of us do. But how come when we learn something new, we're like, oh, I now can do something new. See, guys, that access is critical. But there's another piece to this, right? Because the opportunity to say, wait a second, I love the opportunity of changing our kids' lives. Right? We talked about it. Our kids, the great news about being a business owner is you can start, right? You can employ your kids and do all sorts of stuff. You can have a Roth IRA, right? Back in the day, like the kids were on payroll for giving out candy and doing stuff. But you understand that if you save $5,000 a year until the kids are 65 and then they save, it's like $120 million. It's ridiculous in 2 generations. Guys, if we don't run those numbers and we don't think about that possibility, nothing changes in our life. Tonight is about recognizing, look, if you look around and I'm listening to the enthusiasm room, and I'm glad that you're all here, but man, if you knew what you had in your hands, would you feel the way you feel right now? It's so easy, Cindy, to lose focus on what we have. It's so easy to look at where we are and to forget the adventure that we're on. It's so easy to look at where we're at because we're not where we want to be and miss the fact that we're pioneering something. And to say, this is what our shot is. I'm so excited about the opportunity to be an entrepreneur, the opportunity to surround myself with people that want to build something. Why are we in the financial, we were talking earlier, why are we in the financial services? None of us dreamt about financial services. But man, what better place to be? What better place to change the world starting with your own? But one where there's a client base of 70 million families. No competition and the need is high. There's not a better place on the planet to be. I want us thinking and dreaming about ownership and opportunity to do something. One generation plans ownership. How do we do it? It's about harnessing that spirit inside us. It's about realizing that you're an entrepreneur. It's about having that feeling of, man, I want to do something different. It's not about feeling bad about where you are. Where you are gives you the resource to get to where you want to go. Are any of us where we wanted to be? Did all of us dream that we'd be a little bit further down the road than we are right now? But I got a question. Would you trade it? See, I love who I am. I love the adventure. Sometimes it's been hard. Sometimes it's easy to dream. Man, it'd be really nice if. But if you understood where we were, there's literally not a better place and a better time in history than right now. Because if you understand what we have our hands on and what's possible, 5 years from now, you could look back and go, my God, I'm so glad I was exactly there. The place right now you're sitting at, go, gosh, maybe I wish I was further. 5 years from now, you could be so grateful that you're here. And that's our opportunity. But that only happens when we allow that spirit to get a hold of us. We said, man, we need a leverageable system. Why? Because I'm not an executive. I don't have years and years. I don't have an MBA. I don't have all the structure. I don't understand a lot of things when it comes to business. And if it's relying on me, that's going to be a problem. I said, but man, what if we could leverage a support system where the stuff gets done? Right? We're in the financial services business. How many of you think that servicing a client is a relatively important thing? How many of you are busy? How many think that that's a conflict? Right? If you're busy now, and all of a sudden you started working in a business and got 100 clients, right? Woohoo! And now there's 100 people that are depending and relying on us being able to research. Servicing them becomes arduous, becomes a problem, right or wrong. We said, well, why don't we have a back office support system to make sure that there's a high level quality of service, but someone else can do it and they can point us in the direction where things need to get done. The service gets to be done, but it doesn't have to be done by you. It's high touch, impact, in collaboration. We said, man, that's the system we want to be able to have. And at the end of the day, we can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you have to walk away from your job right now to come do it, can you do that? No. So we can have the greatest opportunity in the world. You go home to your spouse, oh my God, I found this. It's unbelievable. What do you have to do? I have to quit my job and come do something I've never done before. I'm totally going to do it. They're calling 911. We said, but what if you could keep your job? What if your job was the single reason that gave you the freedom and flexibility to learn how to be an entrepreneur? The single reason to be, we call your cover fire, to be able to say, hey, that sniper's going to shoot so we can get out. The single reason that you have the ability to learn the skills without pressure, without burden. Man, you could learn anything. You could look back 5 years from now and go, man, the reason I created freedom in my life is because my job paid me to learn how to be an entrepreneur. So man, if we could create a system like that, we'd have a shot to do something for you. So we looked back and said, okay, well, we are a business incubator designed to create and sustain high-level entrepreneurs. That's what we do. That's what we spend our day doing. What does that mean? What's that mean? So do you think that there are habits of the wealthy that if you learn to process and to be able to communicate, other people can hear and understand? Learning how to have that conversation is important, right or wrong? How many of us don't have all of the best habits? How many think it'd be good to have someone in our life that could point out some of the changes and modifications we could make in business and success to be able to make sure that we create a new sense? Now, there are some people who don't want to do that. We know them too. How many of us know people that ask us questions and don't want the answer? Well, how many of us, okay, let's go through this. How many of us are that person at some point in our life? Really? Do these pants make me white? Really? Like, what's the answer to that question? Why are we talking about this? Guys, because someone in our life needs to stand up and say, look, if 70 million families are stuck, and we're part of those 70 million families, what does that mean about us? This isn't a trick question. This one's pretty straightforward. If 70 million families who make between $225,000 and $250,000 are stuck, what does that mean about make us? We're either part of this group or not part of this group, right or wrong. If we're part of this group, what does that mean? We're stuck. What's the second part of that sentence? And we don't know. That's an important piece. Right? I was listening to an article, that's almost very, I was listening to the video, and the guy was talking about Harriet Tubman. One of my favorite quotes is Harriet Tubman freed, was part of the Underground Railroad, right? And she goes, man, in my life, I freed thousands of slaves. And I could have freed thousands more if they only would have known they were slaves. Here's a woman that ran and organized the army that would go, come on, guys, let's go. And the people that were like, what are you talking about? She didn't have time to go back and say it. She's like, no, we got some, because our lives, if we get caught, we die. See, so many of us have to recognize where we are, so it's okay to make the changes that we need to make. It shouldn't surprise us that we're not where we want to be if we're running the habits of being stuck. But man, as soon as we learn them, as soon as we recognize there's another path, can our enthusiasm go, oh my God, here's a shot to be different? That gives us the power and strength to do something else. So we said, okay, what's it going to take for this entrepreneur? We need it. Okay, Brett, we can have this great idea, but what's it going to take? We need low capital entry. What does that mean? If we're stuck, most of us don't have an extra $50,000 laying around. So we can have the greatest idea in the world. You want to go into business. You want to open up a business. It's $50,000 to $100,000 to open up the business you want to run. And that's before you make any money. Well, if you don't have the $50,000 to $100,000, you don't have the 2 or 3 years it's going to take to be able to sustain income, are you going to be able to open up that business? No. So you get to run wealthy people's businesses. It's just the way the system's set up. Well, Brad, I don't like it. Well, you can protest it, but it's not going to change. No hunger strike's going to change that system. So we said, okay, we've got to understand it. We go, man, what if there was a way that it didn't take the 50 grand? What if the biggest investment was a little bit of time? We said, man, we can have low capital entry. It costs $100 to get licensed. We need a partnership platform. One of the most powerful things we've got is our logo. And what we talked about is we've got our Primerica, the financial services company. That's their job. I don't dream about beta coefficients and standard deviations and investment portfolios. Cindy, does that sound really fun and exciting to you? Making sure all the administration, I don't know. But man, it's doggone important. We got retirement accounts. It's really nice that there are people that really love doing that are working to create profit for us so that we can make sure that we have a compound interest effect. That's really nice, isn't it? But David, do you want to be there? I don't. Now we got a back office support system, right? We got to make sure that there's service, high level. That's got to be done. So we said, man, let's have an entire company that service that so that we can leverage our support systems and we can grow what we love doing, which is realizing that there's an opportunity to fix a problem. And then at the end of the day, it has to be real. And I love talking about this because every once in a while it gets people uncomfortable. But man, I love, if we're going to be away from our family, right? We got a almost 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and twin 2-month-olds. The math is weird, right? I was sitting, Stacy runs our back office, and her daughter's almost 27, and we have 2-month-olds, and we're good friends. Like, we have kids that are 26 and a half years apart in age. That's ridiculous. Right? I don't know why I told that story, but it's kind of, right? But we sit there, and I'm like, if we're going to be away from them, it has to be financially worth it. And so the commitment we said is if we're going to build an unbelievable part-time opportunity, we have to make sure that the part-time opportunity is real. And so that becomes our ambition. And so we said, man, how does our business work? Right? Well, we build our business from an ally model. So look, the number one thing, when we sat down with Eric's friend, the number one job wasn't to convince him to do the business, wasn't to make a client. The number one job was for him to go, man, I understand what you guys are doing, and it's important. 70 million families are stuck. If we had the ability to help them get unstuck, would that be valuable? Is anyone else coming? So if we don't come and they don't know they're stuck, what are their kids going to be? Stuck. That means the people we love and care about are stuck, don't know it, and are going to teach their children to be stuck. So when we have a birthday party or a Thanksgiving or a holiday and we look at the people in our lives, we get to experience that. Well, then we said, man, we need to build an advocate model. We need folks, right when we were sitting with this gentleman, he looked at it and he's like, we were talking about, look, and I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people that have this conversation. You got 2 or 3 friends, right? You guys go drink a beer, you go drink wine, you go hang out, you go do whatever, and you ever have this, dude, if any one of us figure it out, if any one of us find it, we got to let each other know. Like, we have friends that have that conversation. How fun would it be to pick up the phone and be able to call your friends and go, I found it. I found it. I found what we were looking for. See, we need an advocate model. We need people that are willing to tell this story. And then there are going to be some that say, man, I want to participate. I want to be a part of this. Well, we created a position we call GAPS, right? Well, check this out. There's 10,000 people turning 65 years old every day for the next 19 years. And it's the first generation to ever have access to a 401k. That's literally millions and millions of people that made between $30, $50, $80, $100,000 that never made enough money for the financial advisors to talk to them, that now have $80, $200, $500,000, $1 million of retirement assets and no idea who to talk to. We said, what if we could leverage the system, create the managed accounts, and create an impact that helped the folks? Well, $1 million in assets that help these people would pay the associate an extra $300 or $400 a month, $4,000 a year, part-time, spare time. Are you getting rich on $4,000 a year? No, but if you save that, that's starting to make a difference. And $5 million is $1,800. I have a goal. In the next 5 years, I want a shirt made that said, we have over 1,000 people over the age of 60 that make more money in passive income than Social Security pays. How great would it be to have 1,000 people ready to retire and they're making $1,500, $1,800, $2,000, $3,000 a month, and just because they help us with this product? That impact would change generations. We got our part-timers that say, man, an extra $500 to $1,000 to make a difference. We got our full-timers an opportunity to build. And this is right, every one of these spaces, an opportunity to learn how to grow. And then we've got our team owners, we call them our Main Street entrepreneurs, right? The benefit of ownership. The reason we talk about this, but guys, this is one of those things that dial in. The reason that ownership is so critical is you go to have passive income, revenue, and profit. Oh, what? That was weird. I don't know what that slide was. That was a magic slide. All right. What does this mean? As our owners, they become a vice president. As you're growing, right? You start telling the story. We find $15 million of assets under management. We've got to pay $100,000 a year in passive income. You teach 30 people. And we were talking with a gentleman, right? We were talking about finding $1 million in assets. He's like, I might want to look into this. This is right. But man, we get you $1 million of passive income. That's an extra $4,000 or $5,000 a year. But man, if we find 30 of those, that's an extra $100,000 a year of passive income. That's $200,000 a year of just showing up. If you build a team that helps 30 families a month, they'll pay you $15,000 a year. And for every RVP team that helps 15 families lock in a man, establish the habit, it's $6,000 for everyone. I'm not the greatest in math, but I'm like 172. That means 2, 144, 210, 280. That's $350,000 a year. If over the next 5 to 7 years, Cindy, from tonight, we started tonight, we pioneered this thing tonight. For the next 5 to 7 years, we learned the problem and the solution. We made sure that everybody in our life understood and supported what we were doing, which is learning how to be an entrepreneur. We leveraged the resources. We realized they were stuck, and their only shot to get unstuck was through us. They didn't need to buy. They didn't need to join. We just needed them to understand. And we got really good at telling the story, because I'm pretty good at telling the story. And they start from, I don't want to do the business, to, this is pioneering. Well, I'm not that good yet. You're probably not. But can you? It's a skill. Can you practice? Are you open? You're stuck. We can unstick you, but you got to accept it. Now, all of a sudden, though, if over the next 5 to 7 years we do this, it's $200,000 of passive income, $200,000 of revenue, and $350,000 of profit. $750,000. Would $750,000 allow you to start believing that you could get financially free in one generation? That's about $60,000 a month. Could you pay your taxes? Live your life and save enough money to create wealth in one generation. If we did that. But guys, whether it's a gap, a part-timer, a full-timer, or an entrepreneur, we can solve the problem. This isn't about making anybody any one of these. This is about figuring out where the people in our lives are and realizing we can solve this problem. There's 70 million of us stuck. We can learn the tools and resources, and we can do something. Whether they're allies, they're advocates, or associates. There's a place together for all of us. You're greatness. We can learn these stories, and we can make this impact. So we talk about we're going to be back here on May 6th. Look, we said 2 weeks ago we got to grow. We got to get better at the story. We got to get more people in this room. Because the reality is we can talk about 70 million families are stuck, and that's true. But if we don't start solving it, if we don't grow, the 12 of us aren't going to change the world. The 12 of us could turn to 20, couldn't it? 20 could turn to 50, couldn't it? 50 could turn to 100, to 300, to 500, to 1,000, 10,000, to 50,000, 100,000, wherever the number is. Whether we have one family or a ton, those lives get changed. Guys, I am so excited that we're here. Look, I know it's a lot, and I know that we're starting. But guys, look into my eyes. I'm telling you, something great's about to occur. This is our shot to do it, and we can't do it without us. We got training back here on Saturday, 9 to 11. Babe, I'm so excited that you're here. She'll be here in 2 weeks, so we're going to be able to have this. I'm really, really excited about it. I'm telling you, partnership is critical, and then the two of us is nothing we can't do together. Right? I'm so proud to have you here. So excited that we're going to be able to do this, guys. We get to lock together and make something happen. So thank you for coming. Let's have some fun, and let's get this thing done. So, love you guys.
That's a good one.
Good bird.
Good bird.